Are you guys ready for some magic tricks? I am. Magic. That's what we're going to learn about today. It's the art of producing an illusion by sleight of hand. So I found this video. I'm going to share it and then we're going to talk about it. Here we go.
Hi, I'm David Kwong and I'm a magician. And I've taken magic and I've broken it down into the 7 principles of illusion, and I'm going to show you how you can use them in your everyday life. But first, watch this. See, most magicians pretend in some way or another to have superpowers, but I don't. I acknowledge right up front that magic is tricks. How did I bend the spoon? Well, first you need to understand that your brain is a liar. There's so much information in the world, your brain cannot handle it all. So in order to function, it takes shortcuts. It makes assumptions. Like this spoon is 1 piece. It's actually 2. Your brain sees point A and point B and concludes that a single spoon is running through it. Neuroscientists call this amodal completion. Between what you see and what you believe is a gap, which is how we get our first principle, mind the gap.
I want to talk about mind the gap. So I did a little research. I looked up mind the gap. This is what I found. Mind the gap. Ooh, mind the gap. There it is. Mind the gap is an audible or visual warning phrase issued to rail passengers to take caution while crossing the horizontal, and in some cases vertical, spatial gap between the train door and the station platform. The phrase was first introduced in 1968 on the London Underground in the United Kingdom. Oh, why would they have put that there? And why would they say that there? Mind the gap. I've heard it at airports. They'll say things. Watch your step. Mind the gap. Well, the reason is because it's very sometimes hard to tell because they run parallel with each other and you might not see it. You might miss it. Your eye, your visual might be being tricked. It might be being deceived to think that there is a step there when there is not, or that there is not a gap there when there in fact is. So of course that makes perfect sense. And we can go back into, I'm sure, all the way back through history for what's first called mind the gap, but nonetheless, that's mind the gap. We're using that today. So that is a human behavior that we clearly all understand.
Magicians like to play around in this gap. I'd like to teach you a trick that you can try on your friends, and I'll demonstrate it for you first. It involves a selection of playing cards. I'll dribble them down like this, and you would just tell me when to stop. So let's say you say stop right here, and you would remember this card. A little bit of a shuffle, and I should be able to get your card to rise out of the middle of the deck, just like this. So how did this work? Well, it starts with another principle, which is write the script. Because I wanted you to believe that your card came out of the middle of the deck, I used specific language to convey that. And
ancient texts, they wrote the script. The trick has been being played on us from all the way back then. They wrote the script. Maybe it's over. We're going to keep watching him.
I showed you this image of the card in the middle. Magicians manipulate your memory of what happened because your card did not come out of the middle of the deck. It came from the top of the deck. But how was I able to secretly get your card to the top of the deck? I loaded up. Load up is a magician's term for doing all the prep work ahead of time.
This is loading up celebrities. They've loaded the deck. Politicians. They've loaded the deck on you. They're playing a trick on you. They want you to believe something to deceive you. Let's hear other ways.
What was the heavy lifting that I used in this magic trick? I took 52 decks and removed the 4 of clubs from each of them and loaded them into this deck.
52
Then there's the illusion of
politicians.
free choice, which we are able to design. Even though you think you picked the 4 clubs freely, it was your only choice.
That is a good thing to note. You can't be having free will if it is your only choice. In other words, if you are forced to respond due to specific behaviors that is being pushed onto you by your superiors. So, for example, if a police officer is kicking you in the gut and he tells you to lay still or to lay flat or to lie down or quit resisting and is kneeing you in the groin, instinctually it is impossible for you to resist, to stop resisting. Your body is acting in a way that you don't have a choice in the matter due to the activity that that police officer is putting on that victim. Now, I just use that as an example because it's in our news a lot. I can change that with anything. You can't smack your girlfriend and expect, she doesn't have free will. If you smack her and say, make me dinner, she doesn't have the choice of free will if you're going to hit her for it. What is her free will exactly here? Right? I'm either going to arrest you or you're going to blow me. Right? Whatever it is, the free will is removed. You either let me, rape you or I'm going to kill you. It can go on all different types of parallels. So they remove free will. Well, free will, sadly, is something that we all think we have. Look at all the Bible verses about free will. This is just in the Bible. There's 45 verses about free will. I'm going to tell you something. I look through these verses. They aren't. None of them say in the Bible that you have free will. It's not in there. Biblical Christianity denies you free will. And I remember this discussion in theology. And I believe it does deny you the free will. Because what exactly is my choice? I can choose to live forever or I can choose to die. Well, my free will, I don't have. I'm just going to pick the one that sounds the best to me. Based on what might be happening to me at the moment. I may still choose to live. If somebody says, hey, but if somebody says it's your life or your child's, well, then my will change. So only God actually knows. And let me use math in replace of God. Only the answer actually equals the equation in the first place. You start out with the answer, and then you figure out how you need to get there. That's what they do in science. Here's our problem. We want to equal X. We want nobody to get sick anymore. What do we need to do? What numbers do we need to plug in order to reach that answer of everyone lives forever? And if that's their question, then is my life worth less than theirs? Probably because they've been stacking the deck up against us. And they've been using this to load against us. We don't stand a chance. Our brains are going to be fooled every time. We don't have free will. They want us to think we do. Oops. And I know, that's just how I think of it. To me, it's the same thing. It's really that duality. It can mean you have free will. You're making the decisions for your life and your answer will be you. I'm not saying you don't have. I think I have the free will to pick what I want. But I also know that most of the time, those free will questions come at a cost to me or a cost to someone I love. So do I really have free will? Well, only time will tell. Only time will tell. Only the actual answer of the day that I bite it. and whatever happens to me afterwards is discovered, will I know if I had free will or not? Here he talks about they use the familiar.
As the audience member, believe that you are in control, that you are dictating how the trick goes, you will buy into the illusion more. Even though I had this stacked deck of 4 of clubs, how was I able to convince you that it was a normal deck? Well, I played into your brain's need to respond to patterns. We employ the familiar. I showed you the first few cards, and from there you extrapolated that the deck was normal. But what do you do when everything goes wrong? What do you do if perhaps your volunteer chooses one of these 3 cards?
All right, I'm sorry. I think I dazed out for a second. So thinking that we employ the familiar. This one went along with the free will. I thought I'll do the familiar. Okay. Our racist treats. I put media spin on racism in the USA. This again, Google. What are you doing to me? This isn't what I asked. I wanted the media spin on racism in the USA, and look what I got. I got an entire page of Trump's racist tweets. This is all about white nationalism, and my president was black and white, black journalists, how skin became a color. It's all about division, about dividing us, about stacking the deck against us. We can't get normal information because I can't even get an honest answer. And you'd think it would have one that would say, Trump is a racist. And then number 2 would say, Barack Obama was a racist. You would think that I would get the opposite, that I would be allowed to choose which of these 2 things I wanted to learn about. But I'm not. They're stacking the deck against me. They're telling me already what I'm going to be allowed to choose from. So again, free will. Free will if I knew all the facts. Free will if I truly had a decision that could be made based off of a duality of understanding, not your understanding or your understanding. So then he goes on to talk about let's see, where were we? Oh yeah, the familiar. So if you remember, here's what I thought of, right? The familiar. We had Earth Day. It was so cool back in the 80s and 90s and the 60s, and our parents were all hippies or whatever, right? The year of the Aquarius, or the age of the Aquarius, we were wanting to save our planet, plant trees, kumbaya. We were saving the children and holding hands, and we are the world. And as I said in other videos, I've never heard more racism than I have in the last 10 years. I grew up in a world where we were doing the kumbayas, and we were watching, Michael Jackson and David Lee Roth's Sand next, cowboy boot to cowboy boot, right? Not anymore. Not anymore. But we had Earth Day, but what have we done to it? We've taken our familiar and they've turned it around on us. And now we have global warming. And now we're all going to die. And instead of getting to a place where we would all, like elementary school kids, all coming to school together, and everybody is so excited to learn. And then somehow we've learned, and now we're leaving elementary school, and we're like, fuck. And just like us as middle schoolers, middle school sucked for most of us. It was an awkward time. It was a time where our voices were changing and we were getting zits and our hair was greasy after 2 seconds of stepping outside in the heat, and you were sweating and you had hair coming out of places. Smelly. Sounds like global warming, doesn't it?
Instead, well, magicians always have a backup plan, and we call that having.
So I'm gonna go back here, sorry.
Well, magicians always have a backup plan, and
damn it!
Familiar. I showed you the first few cards, And from there, you extrapolated that the deck was normal. But what do you do when everything goes wrong? What do you do if perhaps your volunteer chooses one of these 3 cards instead? Well, magicians always have a backup plan, and we call that having an out. If you were to choose the 7 of diamonds or the Queen of spades or the 6 of hearts, you have to have those outs ready to go. And I have the 7 of diamonds here in my pocket, the Queen of spades.
Let me show you what this made me think of. Universal vaccine. They have a backup plan. They have an agenda. Their agenda is they want to give everybody a shot. So as he pulled out of his back pocket, a card here, a card over here, a card off of here, a card in his sleeve, that's what I thought of. They pulled a Wuhan coronavirus card because this is their ultimate goal. This is what they really want. And so what did we what did we pick? They got to conjure an out. It was taking too long. So they make a vaccine. They come up this gives the coronavirus gives them an opportunity to get you all to get shots before you've had a chance to figure out that it was all a trick in the first place. They're conjuring their out right now. Look, we can save everyone with this shot. Why haven't we had a universal vaccine until now? Why are they telling us we're only 12 months away from a universal vaccine? Why now? Why when the coronavirus? Why this virus? And why in China? Is it because they're all from China? Well, not all of them, but the man-made ones seem to be. Is China unleashing it? Did China unleash it on its own people? Or was it unleashed on them because maybe they're standing in the way of someone else's agenda? They got to conjure a way out. The way out, we want universal vaccines because their ultimate checkmate is they want to live forever. All right. I'm almost done.
In my back, and the 6 of hearts is just hanging out back here behind the easel. Magicians have, for every trick, 3 or 4 backup plans ready to go. And there's one more principle of illusion, a magician's best friend, misdirection. We call it control the frame. It's like a film director's frame. This is the center of your attention, and we can move the frame. Like if I wanted to steal something out of my left pocket, I might move the frame over here as I pick up a pen out of the cup. These are the 7 principles of illusion, and you can try to use them in your own life.
See, he just told you what they're doing. That made me think of this. They want to control the frame. They don't want you to know what they're doing, so they were okay with you thinking that they had UFOs. They didn't want you to know that it was them making these things. They didn't want you to know that they were the ones, the military were the ones. So they allowed you to believe the trick of UFOs in your sky, of aliens through the 60s, through the 80s. Skies, phone lines, light up Arizona. They were okay with you believing this stuff. They didn't mind it because it meant that you didn't know what they were actually putting up there. You didn't know what they were actually doing. So they let you believe the lie. They let you believe it longer in the 90s as well. I want to believe. Well, we started waking up and we started having shows, more shows, not just TV movies, but an actual conversation. I know that X-Files was corny, but was it? It was done as if we were living in a place where it really was happening. It wasn't made to be corny. It had a lot of interesting, they were taken from real files of unexplained. It was based off of something, which was really just them tricking you, them allowing you to think something that wasn't really there because they wanted to keep you from knowing what they were really doing. Then UFOs in the 2000s, we get video games there. And look at 2010, what we see now. Over China, UFOs over China. The UFO remains a mystery in China. UFO in Manhattan, in Taiwan, in Arizona, in Area 41, in New Mexico, over the Pentagon, in our skies. They still want you to believe that these are aliens because they're still allowing this narrative to take place. No one's saying, hey guys, it's really just been us. All right, we've made these planes. Look at today. We got we still got it. A cigar-shaped UFO hovering. And we got lights and drones and mysterious lights. They're still talking about UFOs from way back then instead of just saying, hey, here's what it was. They still want you to believe this nonsense. And then they let you think that they're lizards. Because this is what they're doing. This is what they're doing. They're spraying your skies. They're poisoning you. They would much rather you believe in aliens and be looking at UFOs than they would this. That's not even all of it. Look at this. They don't want you to be looking at these military drones. They don't want you to have seen these 9/11. They certainly don't want you to see the military stealth, which look, surprisingly like a lot of those UFOs. They didn't want you to see that. So they let you believe. Imagery drones at night. I don't know how I typed it. I don't even know what I was doing there. But I was thinking of the ones that are sitting there scanning places while you're sleeping. And you wake up, there's some drone outside your window. And they can do crazy things. Look at this one scanning a cow. Thermal cameras now. They didn't want you to know this is what they were up to. Because they don't want you to know that they can just fly over your house and know how many guns you have hiding underneath the floorboards. Or how many bodies are in your home. They want to be able to take you out without you knowing. They want the upper hand. So they've let you believe in lies. Because they wanted to control the frame.
One more thing. Did you notice how I was able to control the frame during this video? Check this out. Cheers.
You're a slave. It's a trick.